You don't know what to do. Hold on, baby, Rhonda Shear's got you. Grab your computer, log on, baby, you got the power. It's the Rhonda Shear Social Live. It's the Rhonda Shear Social Live.
Hi, everyone. It is our social hour. You're right. And wow, we're reverbing. It's very cool. Anyway, welcome. Haven't seen you guys in a week. Very, very cool. Welcome into my home, because that's where we're coming from, is my home. If you're wondering what's behind me, it's a big mural of all the birds. Yeah, of the birds and the water of Florida, because that's where I live now. So it's kind of exciting to have you guys here. And we've been doing this for a few months, and it's been great. I'm getting like great people as guests. I'm enjoying myself. I'm ready to do my next talk show, Mr. DeMille, in case you're out there watching. So I've got three great guests tonight. So they help make entertainment happen in their own way. I have incredible author, but also he also produces and talent coordinates, Dave Schwensen. Then I have my dear, dear friend. We'll talk about all the things that he's done. Pretty amazing, including the Beatles. So that's fascinating to me, because I thought he was younger than me. So the fact that he knows and likes the Beatles. Ooh, anyway, that's a whole nother subject. My dear friend, and I can say she really, truly is a dear friend, Terry Groves, makeup artist extraordinaire. I mean, the best there is in the business, no doubt. And she was also a model herself. So we'll talk about some of that. And then another dear friend of mine who is the ultimate journalist himself, in front of the camera, also producing behind the camera with his own production company, George Chicarone. He produced me on hard copy, some segments with his 13 Emmys there. I would have them draped all over me. They'd be my clothing, but 13 Emmys. So a great, great a group of guests tonight. And so if you're just tuning in for the first time, what I like to do is I don't even write questions. Oh, because you're like, you don't prepare. You're right. I am undisciplined. I hate preparation. All those people that you watch on talk shows, those producers are prepping them and people are giving them. I like to just chat and be chatty. That's what this is about. So it's the social hour. And I congratulate you all for making it from February, March on to now. We're doing it. We're staying safe. If you want a great mask, you can go to my website, rhondashear.com, and pick up some really cool masks. And also, you could be watching us right now on rhondashearsocialhour.com. And if you're not watching us there, go to that site, check it out, write us. There's a lot of goodies that you can look into, and you can also see past shows. We've got a lot of past shows with a lot of great guests. We also turn the audio of this show into a podcast, so you can listen wherever podcast or listen to. We're also broadcasting live on Twitter, which is Periscope. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook under Rhonda Shear, and we're broadcasting live on YouTube. Now, this is where I want you guys to focus. I really, really need you guys. I really need 50,000 followers by next week. I need 50,000 subscribers. So I truly, truly want you to go to my YouTube channel. It's YouTube, and then just go to Rhonda Shear TV, and you will see hundreds of videos from Up All Night and all the fun things that I've done in my career, along with just lots of goodies that will bring back incredible memories to you. So please subscribe to my channel. Really need 50,000 followers by next week. And I know you guys will tell a friend that will tell a friend and make it happen. Okay, so we play this little game, and it's my little drinking game. So take a sip of something. It doesn't matter what it is. And so when you hear me do this, hair. It's all about hair. So if I say hair, you say hair, we're drinking. Cheers. I think I just swallowed a seed. A little bubbly tonight. Very excited about that. Okay, so we always like to start our show off with a dear friend of mine, Professor Cocktail. And that's because it's a social hour. This is a very light, airy show. It's fluffy. And Professor Cocktail gets us in the mood. So let's go see what Professor Cocktail is doing tonight. And then we'll be back with my first guest, Dave Schwensen.
She's sassy, she's classy, she's quick on her feet, she's never listened to, wow, she's never listened to, wow, she's the best at success, better than the rest, she's never listened to, wow, she's never listened to, wow.
Hey, it's Beverly Santa. You know, all this new technology and these kids, what are they doing out there? Cryptocurrency. What you know what is cryptocurrency? I got real gold. I've got real diamonds. I've got pearls. I've got cash. Cash. What is it in the air? Can you smell cryptocurrency? I mean, everybody's making a fortune on it. What are they buying? What are they buying? Nothing? Hey, Mr. Crypto. Is it named, is it crypto as in like Superman? Didn't he like eat cryptocurrency to make him strong? Wasn't that his thing? It was Superman. So if you eat cryptocurrency, you'll be strong like Superman. In the meantime, if I were you, just stick to cash. Cash, cash, cash. Now, if you can get some trade-ins on some gold or some diamonds, that's always good too. But in the meantime, all this BS with these kids with the cryptocurrency, it's BS. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You heard it from me, Beverly Santa. It's all about cash and diamonds and jewelry and pearls.
She's Beverly Santa, wow. She's Beverly Santa, wow. She's the best at success, better than the rest. She's Beverly Santa, wow. She's Beverly Santa, wow.
Hi, it's Rhonda Shear, and I have something so very special for you. My limited edition of All Night Masks. Everyone's collecting them. There's 4 of them. So if you go to RhondaShearSocialHour.com, you can pick them up, or you can go to RhondaShear.com and pick them up. Let me tell you how they come. You can get 1 at a time. You can get 2 at a time, or you can get 4 at a time. Woo! And then you won't have to wash every day. Now, these masks are not only stylish, and you'll have great memories from USA Up All Night when I got you through puberty, but they're cotton lined and they stay in place and they don't fall off your nostril and down your nose. You'll love them. So anyway, go to RhondaShear.com or RhondaShearSocialHour.com and get your collector's item. Get all 4. The kids will love them. Daddy will love them. Grandpa will love them. Mom will even love them. Who doesn't want a Rhonda silhouette on their face? My first guest, I'm very, very excited about him. I knew him back in the day when I was doing stand-up comedy. I think he booked me on Evening at the Improv, so I thank him for that. He is he's the only person who could say he was manager of the New York Improv and talent coordinator of the New York Improv. That was improvisation. That was a big, big deal. That's where all the comics came out of. If you came out of there, you were going to be a star. He was also talent coordinator for the Hollywood Improv and for the show A&E's Evening at the Improv, which I was on once. Assistant to the legendary Bud Friedman. If anybody in comedy knows Bud Friedman, he scared the heck out of you. He wore a monocle. He owned the improvisation in Los Angeles and also in Las Vegas, and is still kicking, is still doing great. Dave is the author of 5 books, maybe 7. He's got, I believe, 5 on comedy and all about comedy, how to be a comic. We're going to talk more about that. But he also has 2 about the Beatles, which is fascinating to me. So he also does his live right now. He's teaching classes live on Zoom. And you can find out more about Dave if you want to get into comedy and learn a little bit more at thecomedybook.com. Thecomedybook.com. Let me welcome Dave Schwensen, who I haven't seen in a long time. Hey, okay, handsome, you don't change.
Hello, Rhonda. You look the same too.
Oh my gosh, you look, I mean, you're doing something good. It's laughing.
Sorry, I got to fix my hair.
Hey, oh, yeah, you're good. It's that comedy.
No, but actually I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good to see you. You know, I said we were sending messages back and forth. I think we talk about once every 5 years or something.
I know. Well, you put me in your first book, and
Yes.
then a fabulous comic friend of mine, Jay Hewlett, came and visited How to Be a Working Comic. Then you visited, revised, and revamped.
Yes.
How to Be a Working Corporate Comedian. I mean, you're amazing. But thank you for putting me in your second, because you also included some of my business on page 166. It's very exciting. But my friend Jay Hewlett told me, he brought it home. He goes, "You got to read this book. This book is great." And I'm like, he goes, "You're in it." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's Steve. Let me call Dave and get him on the show." So thank you for coming on. How many years in the comedy business now, Dave?
Oh gosh, we're going to go back to the mid 80s in New York City. We're dating ourselves, of course. Yeah. It's funny, when I was watching your Professor Cocktail, I was just being reminded of this. The way I broke in to the improv clubs in New York was I got Silver Saunders to hire me as a bartender.
Really?
I wanted to get my foot in the door. And so I went up and I met her, and she needed a bartender. She says, "Do you know how to bartend?" I said, "Yeah, sure." We say whatever. And I bartended one night, a Sunday night, and then I counted out the money correctly. And I guess she didn't have people that could normally do that. I'm sorry, I'm looking terrible here.
Yeah.
And she said to me, she said, "Do you want to be the assistant manager?" I said,
Oh.
"Sure." So I went back the next night as the assistant manager, and all the comics hanging around the bar were telling me, "Dave, you must have mixed a hell of a drink." Because you were bartender one night, then you were the assistant manager. 2 weeks later, I was the manager.
Oh my gosh. But wait, there was really famous people who did that. Oh my gosh, he was president CEO of HBO. I'm blanking on his
Chris
name.
Albright had
Chris
the same
Albright.
job before me. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So before you,
Yes,
earlier
before
than
me.
you.
Yes.
So definitely people came out of the improv and did okay for
Oh
themselves.
yeah, you know that. You
Yeah.
know that. Yeah, it was just amazing for me. I mean, I just dream job. I mean, not just New York City with the original improv. And I was with Silver, and that was like going to school. She taught me all kinds of stuff. Then I went out to Hollywood, and I hooked up with Bud
Oh my God.
Friedman. I mean, that's like grad school.
Just because, everybody's my guests are seeing you for the first time. Tell us some of the people that came through those doors and how you had to be tough on. Let us know who you were tough on, who you had to throw out.
I wasn't tough. I wasn't tough on anybody. I think I left a pretty good legacy for myself. I was never, whatever I did. I was just kind of honest with everybody. But yeah, at that New York Improv, well, first of all, I always like to point this out. There's always door guys at the club.
Right.
The door guys. They're gonna my door guy and my right hand man. The whole time I was at the New York Improv was Dave Attell. Okay?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
He's one of my favorite comics, and he was always there. So if there was some screw up on stage or I needed someone right away, I'd grab Dave and say, "Oh, do 5 minutes," and he would go up and he would do it. And so I shouldn't say this, but he was out. One thing I also did, the thing I've done that no one else can say, not only with the New York Improv and the Hollywood Improv, I was also manager of the Cleveland Improv because I'm out here. So I've been all different times. So I would say it's like coast to coast. If you talk about the North Coast,
wow.
Cleveland on Lake Erie. But I know when Dave Attell came to the Cleveland Improv, of course, I made a point of telling him, "You owe me, man."
He does. Absolutely. So tell us, I know. So Larry David, I remember going into the improv. One of my past boyfriends, Bobby Kelton, he took me to the improv, and I remember seeing Larry David before Larry David of today. He was already well known, but he was walking around the back with a folder and reading his notes. I don't know if I like the crowd. He was in the back of the room. I don't know if I'm going on tonight. I'm like, oh my God, the guy's so funny. But it's funny that someone of his stature, you can't even imagine him being afraid to go on or nervous about the audience.
He was never nervous. He was there every night. I shouldn't say every night.
Right.
But the guys, they were dedicated comedians. This is what they do. And the New York City Improv was a place to be. Matter of fact, our softball team in the show business league for the New York Improv, Larry David was our first baseman.
Yes.
And Ray Romano, I think, played shortstop on that team. And all the guys who were the writers for Seinfeld and stuff, they were all, Rhonda Sheridan was on that team. A lot of people. It was
Ray
just
Romano
great.
did your forward.
Yeah, and that's why, because we were on the same softball team. But I saw Ray, come on.
I have one funny Ray Romano story, and boy, I wish I would have kept in touch with him. I did a cruise in the before I did Up All Night. I did a cruise. I worked a cruise, and you had to have so much material. So I was borrowing from Bobby Kelton, my boyfriend. Little did he know. He knew later on, but anyway. And Ray Romano was on that cruise, and he was a young comic. So we were both like, because you had to be completely clean on cruises back then. How are we going to do like 3 full shows, completely different material, keep it clean? And he was a newlywed. It was just very sweet. And he was just I took my mom with me, and he was just so lovely. And I knew he was going to be a star. He just had it, he just, even on the cruise ship back in the day.
Yeah. Well, and then, and I got to tell you something too with these books that I wrote, and you are in my book for a reason, and maybe we can get into that or whatever. But every time someone says, "Who are your favorite comedians?" I say, "Just pick up my book. Pick up my book, because if someone's a jerk, I'm not going to put them in my book." Okay.
Well, then I'm honored. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I want you to know, because even though it has been a long time since we've talked, or I think since the last time you were in Cleveland, which is matter of fact, I interviewed you because I was writing for newspapers at that time.
Right. Yes.
And we did the interview, and then we got into doing my book. But you are how to publicize yourself, how to promote yourself. Young comics don't understand how important that is.
it's a business. And I think that's why I was able to reinvent, as everybody says, I reinvented. Well, I reunited with my husband, and who's my high school sweetheart. And we had to reinvent because we were both from two different worlds. So we had to reinvent to make a living. But I think comics need to know that it is a business. And you do have to eat, sleep, and drink it and love it. But you also have to treat it as a business. It's not just like drinking at the Improv. But I know you'll remember some of these days too. So at the Improv in Los Angeles, Bud Friedman had his table. And if you were invited to sit at Bud Friedman's table, oh honey, you have arrived. Or you would try to sit close to Bud Friedman's table, you know, because all the comics, with all the cool comics, and we're talking Jay Leno. I mean, you can name names just because it's so much fun. Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, I started in like '85, just hanging. I was hanging out with Bobby, and I'm like, I told him one night, his worst nightmare. Here's a comic who'd been on the Tonight Show 21 times that time, and I'm like, and I'm his girlfriend. I'm like, I'm going to be a comic. He's like, ugh, I don't want to go through this again. Sitting out in front of clubs, waiting to get on, hoping to get on. But he was nice about it. But I had to go through the whole thing. So I mean, I've had some great comics on, but talking about how you really do have to go through. I mean, I think it takes 10 years to even just start to get there, unless you're a miracle child, you know, just to get your feet wet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, have you ever, okay, so you teach as well. Is there anybody, you know, that you've ever like, I mean, okay, I'll reword this. Is there, and we'll put on the other, I'd love to put up his other books too, just so I can see the names of all the books. But is there anyone, I mean, do you have to be funny, innately funny to teach someone? Or, I mean, or is there somebody who really wants it, but they just don't have it, or they don't have the timing? And then how do you work with that human being? Because I know so many people want to do comedy, but they don't realize it's so hard.
Yes. I'll say one thing I want to make perfectly clear, and the ones who've worked with me over the years, and I'll tell you, Rhonda, I've been doing workshops now for over 20 some years.
Wow.
Both at the improv clubs, specifically in Cleveland and Chicago. I go back and forth. Yeah, there's my last, one of my workshop groups, our graduation picture.
That's great.
And I've also been doing this online, but I always make it clear, and I'll tell you, I said this, I don't believe you can teach comedy. I do not consider myself to be a comedy teacher. People say that about me, and I kind of cringe. I'm like, ooh, I don't want people to think I'm a coach.
Right.
Okay. Just like a baseball pitcher has a coach to win the Cy Young, I'm the guy to give you the kick to get on stage. We go over your stuff. I say, you know, this would work in this situation. This might not work. And I pass along tips on how to, and again, I'll talk about you because you are someone I still talk about in my workshop. I'm serious. I'm serious because I have these, George Carlin told me how to write jokes. Drew Carey told me how to write jokes. In an interview I did with you, here's the story you told me. At one point, all the comics were getting laptop computers, and they were going back to their hotels after the show and sitting down and trying to write new material. And you told me you did that, but it didn't work. You closed it. You said, that's not how I write. I go out dancing, I go out shopping, and I come back, I have new material.
It's true. It's life observations. Yeah. I mean, I would get, you know, I still like, I could be in the shower, and that's usually when something comes to me. It's around the water. But I tell the comics, always make sure you have your recorder with you and a notebook. Look at me, I look terrible here. I'm going to say hair again because I got to fix my hair. You're looking good. Hair. You did it again.
Yeah, there you go. I did it. I got this one hanging here. I got this little Elvis thing hanging down right here.
Nice.
By the way, I'm drinking Bud Light on ice. That's about as heavy duty as I get.
Champagne on ice. So there you go.
Nice.
I love drinks like that on ice. So I think the coaching is great. I do. And I think, you do have to find your own voice. I think I would be much funnier today if I was still doing stand-up than I was then, because you become more raw, you become more open. The older you get, the observations are easier. And a lot of people say, you should do it again. And there's always a piece of me because there's so many comics in this Florida area. And I have a lot of friends who are comics. And I'm like, well, maybe I would host a show, but I'm just not hungry enough to sit down and rewrite a whole show. So that makes
how much work it is, and it really takes dedication. And those comics we talk about have made it. When I talk about Dave Attell, I talk about Ray Romano, I talk about Larry David. These guys were at the New York Improv. They were there every night. And they were every night. I mean, there was no taking off. It was no whatever. And I noticed the ones who were dedicated, who really went far. And I always like to point out who were the open micers when I was running the New York Improv. You remember the ones who would come in at midnight? We would book shows up until midnight.
Right.
And if we had an audience, we could stay up until 4 a.m. But that's when the new comics would come in and hang around the bar and hope that they would get 5 minutes. And I remember walking around with Dave Attell going and saying, well, who's this one? Is that one funny? And I pointed out, who's that guy? He says, that's Jon Stewart. I said, is he funny? He goes, oh, he's okay. So when I said, well, do you want to do 5 minutes? He's like, sure. And it was also like, I remember Sarah Silverman and Rosie O'Donnell and Chris Rock. And they'd all be sitting at the bar hoping to get on before we close at 4 o'clock.
But those were amazing. And the comics of New York I know they used to get together and write afterwards at the famous delis that maybe not.
Westway Diner.
Yeah.
Next door, the Westway Diner.
I love that. I mean, and I had a little bit of that starting in the 80s. I still had that. I don't know if that still goes on. I hope it does, because it's a great fraternity sorority of people that I still know in the comedy world that stay in touch through Facebook. Thank goodness. And I think there's a sisterhood, a brotherhood of comics. So I never had a bad time, you know. I mean, because I was trying to do a look and a thing, I had a little bit harder time in the 80s because everybody was like, you have to look funny to be funny. So in terms of management, the comics never gave me grief at all, female or male. The club owners, well, a lot of the club owners are bar owners, not the improv. You know, Bud Friedman really gave me a break. He did early on, and Jamie Masad at the Laugh Factory. But I want to put up your books. Let's put a graphic up of Dave's book so we can see all the comedy books that you have to go out and read. Yeah. Any interest. Also, what I love is that you help coach people that want to speak. Or I think that is so important, especially now with Zoom meetings and people that are terrified to be on camera. Like, I think that is vital to learn. I mean, I have friends that are really afraid of that. Look at you packing your books.
That's my new book. That's the one that just came out August 31st.
Okay, what is that called?
It's called Something to Laugh About. I used to, again, I wrote newspaper. I came back here and I started writing. Right. And for a number of years in the 2000s, I was writing weekly humor column. It was probably about 5, 6, 7 newspapers, 800 words a week, every week. And so with this pandemic, right, and I was living in Chicago for all. My wife, Debbie, and I were in Chicago. I was doing all my workshops at the Chicago Improv. And we came back here, and now I'm in Northern Ohio. But I found all my newspaper columns, my humor columns in a big notebook like this thick. And so this winter, I sat down and said, what am I going to do? I picked out 144 of them that I thought were still funny.
Oh, that's great.
And I put them together in a book, and we just came out with that on August 31st.
Congratulations. Thank you. I definitely want to check all that out. I also want to ask about the Beatles.
Yes.
I mean, okay. So like, I grew up and I love the Beatles, but I think I was like kind of young. I mean, I love their music, but I never got into them the way like my sister and brothers did. They're a bit older than me. But I do know enough that Shea Stadium was like supposedly the first stadium concert ever. I call it the beginning of Stadium Rock. Now I wrote a whole book on this. Of course, Elvis did a couple stadium shows before he went in the Army, but nothing big. I always say the biggest one he did was 26,000 people at the Cotton Bowl in Texas. The Beatles with their Shea Stadium concert, they had to more than double that to sell it out, and they did. It was 55,600 people there, and they sold it out word of mouth. There was no advertising. It was only word of mouth. That's wild. Yeah.
So, that's this Beatles thing. And my comedy friends and I know a couple of them that, they played poker together at regular poker games in New York. And one of the comics years ago contacted me because he got out of the poker game. He's sitting there going, oh, nuts. He lost his money. He looked over on the couch and there was a book called The Beatles in Cleveland. And he said he picked it up and he looked at it. And all of a sudden he realized, looked at my name and went, wait a minute. So he contacted me on Facebook. This is you.
Wow. The Beatles at Shea Stadium, the Beatles in Cleveland. Yeah. So, I mean, did you have that's fascinating. Did you just have the amazing love of the Beatles, or were you at a concert? Because you're way too young. Yeah, thank you for saying way too young. Yes, I did see the Beatles in concert. You did? My mom and dad took me, so yes. And that started, and Rhonda, it's such a long story. It would take forever. But however, I tell you, this goes back to the New York Improv, because when the Rolling Stones were touring with the Steel Wheels Tour in 1989, they were at Shea Stadium. Right. And we all went. I mean, I probably went to like 5 of those shows. Everybody was going to see the Rolling Stones over and over. They were there for like how many days. But I remember having this talk, what's the best concert you've ever seen? And someone said, oh yeah, I saw the Doors. And like, oh yeah, I saw Jimi Hendrix. And I said, oh yeah, man, I saw the Beatles. They're like, what? You? And what was that like? I said, it's a riot. It was like a hard day's night. And anyway, that built up. And I was writing concert reviews for newspapers back in Ohio. And one night I thought I better write down 1-page review of that concert because I was young. I don't want to forget it. So I wrote it down. I put it on my website and I started getting emails. Oh, I bet. And I just started interviewing people that were really involved with it, and it took off. That is amazing. I mean, I know that everybody's going to want to read about that. I mean, I did hear, I I listened to you were being interviewed, that you interviewed people that were, at the stadium, behind the scenes. I mean, that's just amazing that you got in touch with, but everybody would want to know the behind the scenes of the Beatles.
Oh yeah, just all their opening acts, Cousin Brucey, people like that, the Ronettes. They're all part of this. They're all like 60s pop culture. And really, I wrote the first one just for myself.
Okay, I just got Robin Orsino saying you're hot.
Okay.
And then Shiara wanted to know, how did you know you were funny? Shiara just wrote that up on the screen. How did you know you were funny?
I still don't know I'm funny. I don't know. I keep thinking I was real good at cracking jokes while the other comics were on stage. When I was a manager at the Improv. And matter of fact, and I will say that I always thought the show at the bar was a little bit better than the one going on stage.
Oh, I bet. Comics talking about comics that are on stage.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt. Okay, so Andre said the Beatles once performed in Portland at Memorial Coliseum.
I wasn't there. I wasn't that old.
You were
not there. I wasn't there.
Okay, so I don't know if the 80s was past this time, but I do know that the improvisation in New York started off as a music club too, right? It was music and comics would get up.
Yeah, we always had a music act at the one in New York. As a matter of fact, that's how some of these guys are going to remember me, because I do want to perform. Rhonda, I got a Beatles picture posted behind me.
I saw that.
Okay, because I do these live webinars. I do live programs. I've done Beatle festivals. I've done colleges. I got my own circuit that I do. So
Right.
since everything's shut down, I do it now like webinars. But the comics in New York will remember me because I wanted to be on stage, but I wasn't funny enough. I couldn't get the act together. Matter of fact, I was like, when I first became the manager, first thing I did, I always said was pass myself for the audition.
Oh,
and,
no.
and I went on stage and I'm doing like 7 minutes, but I didn't think it was right for the manager of the club to be up there doing this when the comics want to get on. However, the Improv in New York City had a music slot. They always did. So the MC would go on, then the music act would come out and sing 3 songs, and then the comedy would start for the rest of the night. So I worked out a deal with Silver. I wanted to raise, and I said, look, why don't you let me do 2 music spots a week that are paid spots, and you don't have to give me a raise. I'll just take the paid spots from the music acts. So I would do that. And yeah, the comics were brutal on me, just brutal.
Well, so what do you do? Do you sing and play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that about you.
Yeah, I used to play in the Village before I went to the New York Improv. I used to play all the clubs, Kenny's Castaways, the Folk City, all that stuff in the Village. Anyway, at the New York Improv, we had a band. We had a Bob Cross and Tom Pyle, piano player to bass player. And my friend Mike Sergio was like the regular music act, but I grabbed 2 spots a week. And so I had my 12-string guitar and I'd play with the band. And I had a couple songs I wrote, but I'd put it down to tell some jokes in between. I try to be funny. But the comics would do stuff. Like one time, all the comics in the bar lined up. They all put bar napkins in their ears like this and they marched down the aisle. And then out the exit door, I was right next to the stage at the New York Improv. I'm like, well, I guess my set's done tonight.
Well, but Dave, you could have gotten back at them and not booked them on Evening at the Improv. So there you go.
You can't operate like that.
I know.
That.
You're so nice for comedy because Bud Friedman, and then I'll let you go because I know your wife cooked you a fabulous meal or you're having a good night. And we'll have you back on.
By the way, she just ran around the corner. She's watching over there. She ran around the corner and says, your hair looks fine. Quit doing this.
Your hair looks great. Oh, wait. I have to do one. Okay, so Bud Friedman, who, for those who don't know, he's legendary. You can look him up. He wrote a book. There's books written about him who owned the Improv. Was so scary and so intimidating to comics, and he loved that. He wore his monocle if it fell. Okay, so he would introduce comics, and God bless him. I don't think Bud was ever that funny. I mean, he was a great MC, but I'm just saying, I don't think stand-up comedy was, he was a businessman.
Yes.
But he MC'd and he loved MCing and he did love young comic. But there was young comics, but the Improv back in the day, there was a hallway between the door, then there was a bar, and then you went into the main showroom. Yeah. And all the comics would congregate, and all hang around, and they would hang out in that hallway. And all I can remember, and I know you could hear the get out of the hall, move out of the hall, move out of the hall. I mean,
that was his get out of the aisles. They're saying
get out of the aisle, get out. I mean, you're like so afraid.
Here's one of my stories on Bud, and again, I cannot tell you how much I miss being out there with those guys. I mean, I loved it. Dream Job, Bud Friedman, everything's there. But here's one of the things he taught me. And this is and again, my books are business books, by the way, for comedians. They're not how to write a joke. They're not any of that stuff. This is business stuff.
Well, I noticed I mean, you talk about me making it in business and everything. So
Yes.
that's
Yes,
fabulous because
yeah.
you have to have the business mind to make it an entertainment, no matter what entertainment.
But the thing with Bud one time, I had somebody come out from New York to audition for the club, and I really wanted Bud to see him. So they're getting that aisle, as it reminded me, between the bar and the showroom, you had that little hallway thing. So I'm in there, and my guy was going to go on. So I went over to Bud, and he was sitting at his round table. The round table. I mean, I think Bill Maher was sitting there, Leno, Rodney Dangerfield. They're all sitting. So I go, Bud, this guy's going to go on next. I want you to watch. He goes, okay, Dave, I'll be there. So I'm standing my friend. I said, yeah, Bud's going to watch it. No problem. They announced that Bud's not coming on. I go, Bud, did you want to? He says, I'll be there. I said, well, he's going on. He goes, I'll be there. So the guy's halfway through a set. I finally go, Bud, he goes, look, Dave, he says, are they laughing? Is the audience laughing? I said, yeah, they're laughing a lot. He goes, well, then book them.
That's
what it is. I don't listen to whether I like a comics act or not.
That's good.
It's whether the audience is laughing or not, and where can they fit in. If it's a corporate show, you got to be G-rated.
Right.
I mean, you've taken cruise ships yourself.
Right.
You got that clean show early, but then they do the adult show later.
Right.
Same comic has to have 2 different acts. So you got to look for that. That's the business stuff.
Right. That's the business. Dave, I want to thank you for coming on. I would love you to come back on I'd love to do a comedy show where some of the comics. That would be fun, and then have everybody on. So
I saw you had Jason Stewart on, and I saw you had Jan Karam on. I love both of them.
That would be fun. So, I mean, we're keep gathering guests, but my goal is to make this like a family and regulars and have people back on. So I hope you come back on. I thank you for being in your book, and I'm sending everybody to thecomicbook.com, right?
The comedy, COMEDY book.
Oh, the comedy. The comedy
book.
Thecomedy.com, and then we can find out more about you, your Zoom classes.
Yes.
Workshop.
Starting a new one. Yes. I do a special one for speakers too. You mentioned that the Toastmasters we do on Wednesdays.
I tell you what, I speak, I'll have to tell you that offline because I've been asked, not lately, obviously in the shutdown, but I've done a lot of speeches as an entrepreneur, and I make them funny. But Dave, I have absolutely no focus to actually write a speech. It's like I know what I'm going to say, but I've never actually written one. And I have friends like Diana Jordan was on last week, and that's what they do for a living. I mean, I would love to do inspirational speaking. I wrote a book, but maybe I'm going to call you up on that so I can learn.
All right, we can do that. We'll probably wind up talking about a lot of other stuff instead.
Yeah,
but
we'll do both.
We'll do both.
We'll do both. I thank you. Tell your wife hello. Your hair looks great.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So does yours, by the way. It's beautiful. So there we go.
All right.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. It's so good to see you.
Dave Schwensen, ladies and gentlemen. And you can go to thecomedy.com, find out more about Dave. Fascinating life. Anybody who's written 7 books is amazing to me. And he knows who's funny. He knows the whole thing. Okay, so cheers. A quick hair. I'm my own sound effect person. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. Yeah. Hi, I'm Rhonda Shear, and you may remember me from USA Up All Night, or perhaps you've seen me on HSN selling my own line of Rhonda Shear Intimates, or maybe you're watching my new show, RhondaShearSocialHour.com. Well, if you want to watch those and a lot more, you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Rhonda Shear TV at YouTube. All of you have been looking for Up All Night clips where they're all there, hundreds of them, with your favorite stars and celebrities and fun TV commercials and all kinds of random clips. Things that'll make you laugh, things that'll make you cry, things that'll make you go, whoo! Anyway, join me at Rhonda Shear TV at YouTube. The address is right there. See you there.
Cooking in the kitchen and it smells real nice. Cooking in the kitchen with Rhonda. Stuck at home and you don't know what to do. Hold on, baby, Rhonda Shear's got you. Grab your computer, log on, baby, you got the power. It's the Rhonda Shear Social Live. It's the Rhonda Shear Social Live.
Hi, welcome to Cooking in the Kitchen with Rhonda. Today we are going to do a mood-boosting, creamy butternut squash soup with chicken thighs. Everything about this dish is really super healthy, including some of the spices. So I'm going to take you through what we need to make this amazing dish. My first time, we're going to make it together, but it's going to be yum delicious. So we have avocado oil. we have fresh minced ginger. We have fresh minced garlic. You know I love my chopped onions, about 3 small onions. We got our chicken. We leave it over there. We don't want to touch the chicken. But nice and juicy thighs. Then we have sea salt. We have turmeric. Now this is like a special ingredient that is so healthy. It speeds up your metabolism and it's just really tasty. You don't use too much. You don't need too much, but it does its thing. Fennel seeds. Ooh, this one I know. Cayenne pepper. A little kick there. Cumin, savory. And then coriander, which is kind of like a sage lemony flavor. I've never cooked with it before. I'm excited to use it. Looks like milk or cream, but you know what it is? It's coconut milk, very healthy and very low cal. This whole thing is about 60 calories, so about 1.5 cups. And then we have our unsweetened almond butter for the crunch. Okay, let's get started on putting some of these ingredients together and then we'll head to the stove. Okay, let's assemble all the goodies. So we're gonna take the butternut squash. Yum! Butternut squash. And then we're going to put in all of our beautiful ingredients. The cumin, the coriander, the turmeric, the cayenne pepper, and the fennel seeds. We're just gonna toss them. Toss, 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 toss. Now, I'm not going to promise you that I'm not going to go back and add a little something because I do a lot of my flavors to taste, but I'm starting out with this. But when I sniff around and it's cooking and I want to add something else to it, I may do that. Look at that. Oh, it's already smelling good and we're not even near the stove yet. Okay, let's head to the stove. So now we're going to brown the chicken in the olive oil. And this is boneless and skinless thighs. So healthy. Okay. And just till they're a little bit of white. So we're going to let them do their thing while I head over to the other pot to get the soup going. Okay, so it's time to saute the onions, the garlic, and the ginger. Ooh, this smells going to be amazing. Sizzle, sizzle. Garlic. Ginger. Gotta get every little bit. No doubt the wooden spoon will be much more quiet. Okay, that's going to hang out for a minute. So let that do its thing. Okay, so the onion has browned. It's really good. It's nice and soft with the ginger and the garlic. So now it's time for the butternut squash with all the beautiful seasonings that we added earlier to go into the pot. Oh, yeah, you gotta scrape it off. You don't scrape it off, I'll be licking the bottom. Gonna let that cook for a little bit, and then we're gonna add in all the milk, and then we're gonna add in the stock of the chicken. I'm just gonna let this all kind of mush around for just a little bit. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to pour in 1.5 cups of coconut milk and 2 cups, pre-done a little cheap, of chicken stock. Stir. Two yummy tablespoons of sea salt. 2 tablespoons of almond butter. now I'm going to emulsify because I want to do it smooth. I want a nice, smooth, creamy soup. So I've put my emulsifier all the way down. Watch how it just becomes just a smooth, smooth broth. Okay, so I'm putting in the brown chicken now so it can cook in the soup and get all those incredible flavors together. Ooh, here we go. Gonna put the pot, the lid on. Let it hang out and just do its thing. So a quick little bonus dish. We decided to do a vegetable. So portobello mushrooms are like little steaks. I mean, a lot of people use them as their hamburger, like if they're vegetarian. So portobello, onions, just a little olive oil, just hanging out in the pan. So we're gonna have portobello, onions, and then we're gonna have that incredible, mind-boosting, creamy butternut squash and chicken thigh soup. What a great meal. Healthy, healthy, healthy. Yum! We'll be back when it's all done. So our mood-enhancing squash soup is on its way. We're going to serve it over a little cauliflower rice. I'm talking completely healthy. Just put a little spice on the rice, and now we're ready to serve the soup.
Cooking in the kitchen and it smells real nice. Cooking in the kitchen with Rhonda. Cooking in the kitchen and it smells real nice. Cooking in the kitchen with Rhonda.
We're just at home. We're just quarantining and cooking in the kitchen. We're having fun. Sometimes being home is nice. You know, you do things that you're always too busy to do. So cooking and playing with Professor Cocktail. Anyway, my next guest, and we'll show that picture again of he and I. Okay, I'm just going to read a couple of things. He started as a journalist. He has a doctorate in journalism, which is pretty amazing. I didn't even realize that. So he's been in front of the camera, behind the camera, with 13 Emmys for his work in front of the camera. He also did an underground documentary for HBO called The Cathouse. It was the hidden camera show shot in the brothel to capture negotiations and why men and women go there. It still to this day holds records, ratings records for the documentaries at HBO. That is just crazy. We met. How did we meet? He actually, just how did we meet? Okay, wait. He actually says it. How did we meet? Okay, segment director. Well, that is how we met. I'm not sure how we really met, but he was a segment producer at Hard Copy, and we met. I can't remember how we actually got together, but I did some crazy things when he was producing. He wasn't reporting then, but let me just bring out George Chicarone and we'll go from there. All I can tell you is my friend has won 13 Emmys, is amazing, and we're Facebook friends, and I'm so glad to see you. How are you, George?
Boy, I'm doing great. You look the same. This is
You look
amazing.
the same. And you have that voice, that same voice, that sexy on-air reporter voice. I mean, you do look the same. You really do look the same. I mean, your credits. I didn't realize you had a doctorate in journalism, or I would have been really terrified of you back in the day.
I know I keep a lot of stuff under wraps, but you know how we met?
How did we meet?
I think they hired you to do some segments, and I used to do kind of like the funny stuff, and so they figured it was natural, and they put us together, and we got along right from the beginning. You were like a sister, and you always made me laugh. And I remember you would kid me because I was always miserable because I didn't really want to be working there at the time. And so I'd be at the desk, and miserable. And you'd come over and say, you know, how miserable are you today? You know, I said, all right. And we had a great time though.
You weren't married then, were you? You weren't married then.
No, not married now either.
Okay, well, I just remember that I was always either trying to say that a woman would help you. You know, I was always like a matchmaker thing in me. And I was like, that's what you need, George, is you need that right woman in your life. You and I really did become brother, sister, and we had some great times. Those were great times. I don't know how I got to hard copy, but thank goodness you were in my life. And then we tried to replicate some of those bits on Up All Night, never the same as when you and I did it. So George had this idea, and then, I mean, I want to talk about what you're doing because I know you're still doing amazing things. Along with being in real estate mogul, you're still doing things for Inside Edition, right? You're still producing?
Yeah, I wanted to, you know, you want to keep active in that stuff because it's my love, you know. And as we get older, you know, it's kind of like you got to retire sooner or later. So I have a great relationship with them. I've actually known all those people. Actually, Deborah Norville, I used to water her plants when she worked in Chicago. You know, we were friends we worked together back then. So it's very incestuous, you know, how it all comes together. And I do, if anything you see out of Las Vegas or the surrounding area, my company shoots it for Inside Edition.
So George, do you still go on camera? Are you still in front of the camera too?
No, I'm not doing it for them. I'm just producing now. You know, you get after a while, you got to start dyeing your hair and wondering how you look and all that.
Wait, so you said hair. You said
hair. I did say hair. And look what I got just for you.
That's cool. I never got one of those. You had me do crazy things, George. Okay, so we're gonna talk about George too, but we have to tell the most classic bit that you claim was like, I remember you saying it was like one of the highest rated bits on hard copy, the most requested bit from people in the news industry.
Yeah.
George said, we need to cover the Democratic convention.
That's right.
What? Oh, Republican. I'm sorry.
It's a Republican convention in San Diego, right? Yeah, we were in San Diego.
Republican, Democrat. You know, when they get there, back in the day, it was different. It was fun.
It was fun back then.
It was fun. People weren't killing each other. Okay, so it was a Republican National Convention. It was in San Diego. And George has this idea, and I'm crazy enough to go along with it, that we're going to cover it. And hard copy is already, people are like, hard copy, what are you going to do at the convention? And then I have like this I have on a jacket with a low-cut top underneath, but I closed the jacket when we were inside the convention, but the camera was in my cleavage. And back then, George, it wasn't like today with the little cameras.
Right.
He had attached to me, along with some other people, I had an entire studio in my large purse that I had to hold because I was wired. And anyway, you all have to see a clip of this because this was George's idea and it's brilliant. And the whole thing was, I'm going to cover the convention for my cleavage. I'm going to pretend like I'm asking some real questions. So we had a real camera guy and then we had cleavage cam and his whole thing, I love your mind. This is someone with a doctorate degree. We're going to see how people react, how men react. Back in the day, you can't do this anymore.
Because we discussed, we said they always have to sneak a peek and you can't be obvious about it. So what you would do, and you explained it in the piece, you said, what I'm going to do is engage them and then look away. And that's their cue to go like this. So we would cut to the cleavage cam and we'd get them. I think we got Sam Donaldson, we got Dan Rather.
We could never do this today.
No, that's true. Right?
Ever get away with what we're going to show you. Don't be offended. It was all in good fun. And actually, this man has 13 Emmys. That should have been an Emmy-winning segment. You do, and you're a serious journalist, but out of the mind, and this was the sister-brother thing that we had going on. Let's go to cleavage camp. We'll come right back.
So just what is on the minds of all those delegates and dignitaries at the GOP convention? Politics? Making this country a better place? Sure. But that's not all.
They just get caught more with their hand in the cookie jar, so to speak.
We enlisted the help of actress-comedian Rhonda Shear, who has the right platform to find out what's really on their minds. Rhonda and the exclusive hard copy cleavage cam.
Always like science.
Back at our hotel, hard copy technicians enthusiastically made final adjustments, and we headed down to the floor to see who we could bust with our boob tube. Very soon, delegates were taking advantage of that plunging neckline, sneaking peeks faster than you could say Gary Hart. Check this guy out.
Oh my God.
There are those who stole quick sneak peeks. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Then I like this guy. He went for the old better pretend I'm adjusting the glasses routine. Very smooth.
They try to look like they're looking directly into your eyes, but the second you look away, they do that quick little glance down.
And there was this reporter from the Midwest. Watch his expression as he pretends to be concentrating on his notes. We also caught some very well-known folks off guard. Watch former Secretary of States, George Schultz.
I got him.
Mr. Secretary. Keep an eye on the lady behind him, too. If that's Mrs. Schultz, she doesn't look too pleased.
It's just like you have a dream. You show them, they'll look.
Then we spotted CBS newsman Dan Rather dashing out of a restroom. Did he look? You be the judge. Gee, Dan, you certainly do seem to have your eye on America.
I just want to say hello. I'm Rhonda. I'm a fan.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dan Rather, I know he saw the girls, but he's a trained professional. He didn't look down. It was a peripheral thing. I saw Pappy Buchanan going to the door. He may have taken a quick glance down. I'm not sure.
Let's go to the videotape. He comes, he turns. What do you think? Nah.
Oh my gosh.
How about NBC's Brian Williams? Did he get caught with our bazoom lens?
Rhonda?
Hi, Brian Williams.
Very nice to meet you. I know who you are.
Oh, well.
Brian Williams totally, in his boyish way, took a quick glance downward.
But yeah, you got to keep doing the comedy because, you know, the fact that you have the journalist background, 13 Emmys, but then you had this wicked sense of humor. And anything you wanted to do, it's like I was there, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
so
but you know what? I remember. Did we shoot something there, or you just took me there? It was the West Hollywood Halloween parade, and you had to show it to me. Remember?
Yes.
You said,
I totally remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if we shot something. I think we did shoot something
We did
there.
shoot something. I probably told you about it. I might have turned you on to that, but we did.
Yeah,
shoot
I had no idea. You know,
I have to, you know, I probably have that. You know, what's really cool is that I kept archives for years. I had them in storage in LA, the old tapes. And then my husband has been really great about, you know, Van, putting them on DVD, and then we've been uploading them to YouTube. That's why everybody has to subscribe to YouTube. For like some of this great old footage. So I pretty much I bugged everyone until they gave me videotape back in the day. And I'm really glad that we're able, you know, to have some of that stuff that people don't have anymore.
I know. You told me, you enlightened me of the true reason we celebrate Halloween.
Wait, no, I don't remember. So you have to tell me. What is it?
It gives women the excuse to show cleavage.
I'm so glad that with all your accolades and your degrees, that I have given you such incredible wisdom about feet and cleavage.
And you know, it all boils down to it's true to some degree. You know, it's like the women can't wait to put something, you know, sexy on that they can get away with and have an excuse.
Well, George, I grew up in New Orleans, so New Orleans, you know, back in the day, I don't even know if you'll be able to do that, but you show. I didn't, but you show, you know, everything for a pair.
I also met your mom. You know, may she rest in peace. Yeah, I remember, but she was such a sweet lady. But I remember going to your apartment. I don't know why I was up there. You wanted me to introduce me to your mom, and she was a sweet, sweet lady.
She really was. I mean, she had a great sense of humor, and she was a sexy soul. She really was. Yeah. She was all about, you can show it, you just can't do anything with it. She was an amazing
sound advice. Yes.
So tell me about your production company and where people can find you if they need something done, you know, in Las Vegas or wherever.
Yeah, well, in Las Vegas, you know, I'm kind of slowing down. What happened was when we did I did the show Cathouse for HBO, right? And it turned out to be this huge success. So all of a sudden, after 40 years of doing this, all of a sudden people made up their minds that, oh, he knows what he's doing. So I was asked to, you know how this business works. And it's like now all of a sudden I'm this genius and they want me to consult on reality shows.
Oh,
Okay. So one of them was a reality show based in Northern Kentucky. And I used to work in Cincinnati, that market. And all my friends were there. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll consult, you know. And so I consulted. Anyway, long story short, after I left, I took all the money I earned with Cathouse and bought a bunch of properties there. It was about a landlord who deals with wacky people. You know, so it was like him dealing with people not paying the rent because the house is haunted and things like that. Oh, crazy stuff. And it was fun. So anyway, I ended up buying a property, and it was the smartest thing I ever did. So, you know, yeah, so that's kind of like, I don't have to chase a buck anymore, you know, and you have all that. Yeah. So, so, I mean, if someone needs something done, you can find me somewhere. As long as it's fun, I'll do it. If it's fun, we'll do it.
I love that. By GeorgeTV.com, we can find you. And I'm still here in case something crazy wacky comes up. And you know, what a lifetime that you've had of, you know, your work. Tell everybody about, you know, before I let you go, about Cathouse. I mean, because can they still find it anywhere? Can it be found on YouTube? Probably.
Oh, I'm sure it's there.
If not, if you have it, you can upload it yourself.
Yeah, we did like 10 years of that, and you know, I'll tell you a funny story. Dennis Hoff, who was the star, I guess, of the show, who passed away last year unexpectedly. And I had just seen him the month before earlier in the year before he died, and I was supposed to go to a party, his birthday party. And I was in Kentucky actually, and I came back and I couldn't make it. I didn't feel like flying there. And I said, oh, geez, I'll make an excuse. And, you know, he passed away 2 days after that. It was really sad. But I met him earlier in the year. I saw him again. I asked him he was running for office. And I said, I belong to this Italian American club here in Las Vegas. And, you know, it's like I'm older than you, but I remember watching Ed Sullivan, and all these comedians are there. All these old guys. I
love it.
The guy who played Cousin It, the little Italian guy, he's there. Yeah. Oh God. Steve Rossi's partner, Marty Allen, before he passed away. Yeah, before he was there. But it's like, you know, Shecky Green, all these guys are there that I grew up as a kid watching. And it was so much fun. So I said, Dennis, come talk. They'll love it. You know, the Cathouse show was very popular. And so he did. And, you know, it was very nice. But he looked great. I never saw him look better. And I couldn't believe when he passed.
Is that still going on? Is that cat? I mean,
they're doing, I'm sure they're, you know me, I'm too cheap to get HBO, even though, you know. I'll get it off a satellite somewhere.
That's
but
okay.
I'm sure
I mean, is that brothel still open? Is it still?
Oh, it's not at the moment because of COVID. But, the governor here in Nevada last week, he said as of midnight last Sunday, bars can open up again.
Right.
But not brothels or gentlemen's clubs.
I love that. They just opened up restaurants full capacity here. I'm not going to go into that because you just have to do what's comfortable. I'm not comfortable with that. But the point is brothels, you know, I mean,
you're asking for it, you know. Yeah.
Terry Gross, my artist friend, she's like in full gear to do makeup. So for a lady of the evening, it would be really difficult, I imagine. But
you know, a quick funny story is, and this is the God's truth. Throughout doing that 10 years, I was offered everything you can imagine.
Oh,
you know, and not once, not because I'm moralistic, but I'm superstitious, and you don't, you know, where you eat, you know. Right. So, you know, so anyway, I remember the first night I went up there. I was working for Fox Sports actually, and I was doing something in San Francisco. So I, of course, on their dime, flew up to Reno, and I rented a car to go shoot the story. But I was in Reno. I went to see Dennis, and I had the presentation tape that we were going to start pitching around. And I show up there, and Madame Suzette, who's I've known for years, she's a sweetheart. She's running She's running the brothels now, from what I hear. And I can't, we stay in touch on Facebook. But she said, oh, she always called me Georgie. She goes, oh, Georgie. She says, Dennis is out with one of the girls at a restaurant. He wants you to send a limo and bring you there. And he says for you to pick 2 girls and come to dinner. And I said, I go, Suzette, geez, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want to pick anybody. It's like you and not you. So she says, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So anyway, she picked 2 ladies, and we got in the limo. We went up and met Dennis, had a great time, and nothing happened. We came back, and so all the hookers are at the bar. It's like 25 of them or something, all lined up at the bar. And back then, we took the video cassette, and Dennis goes up and puts it in, and it was the 9-minute presentation that we were going to sell this Cathouse idea. And we put it on. Everyone loved it. When Dennis left that night, he said, ladies, the cashier's been notified. Whatever George wants tonight, on the house. So, I had an open checkbook. And I swear to God, everyone was coming after me because they saw an easy way to make some good money, not a lot of negotiation because it was open tab. And I said, oh, thanks. But, anyway, I swear to God, I went off to the room that they had prepared for me. And I, by myself, shut the door and had NyQuil and went to bed because I had a cold. So I'm the only guy who had an open tab in a
George, I know the
warehouse.
truth. I know you well enough, and I love you well enough to say the tip you would have been on you, and that would have been hard for you to do.
Oh, couldn't swallow that, right? I'd have to check the car or something.
Oh, George, we have to do something together. I love talking to you and seeing your great handsome face again.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thank
I like
you.
that we stay in touch on Facebook, and we need to do that. And
Yeah.
as I've said before, I want to make this show. I'm having fun with this. I did this initially just because I needed to do something.
Well, the thing is, I one of the reasons I'm kind of getting out of the business is I hate having to deal with network people because they're all 20 years old. They don't have as much knowledge as you and I do in their pinky nail. And yet these people are making decisions. And it's like, what's the easy thing to do? Take a chance, and then if something fails and you look bad, the easy thing is to say, no. And they come up with this ridiculous reasons why. And I remember Jerry Seinfeld, who I don't know, but but I remember him telling the story that after the success of Seinfeld, he went into, he met with all the cable networks, and he had the idea of doing comedians in cars getting coffee, which is great. And he went in there, and these 20-something-year-old kids were shooting everything down. And I remember Seinfeld saying, what kind of a track record do you need to get a show on a cable? And it's all because they're all afraid, Oh, God.
And you know what? What's weird about that is there's so much need for so much more content because there's so many more places. So I love this. I mean, I love that we're letting people start to buy some advertising time on the show, just to pay the, for turning on the cameras. But I love it.
No, you have a whole new platform now. You don't have to grovel with these networks and stuff.
No, and it's fun. You can do what you want, and when hopefully this virus passes, we can have people in the house and have people come in. I mean, that's my dream, and my husband's completely behind it, which I really love. So I've got
He's a great guy. Do you remember, that picture you had of us at the beginning? That was what I met Van for the first time.
I know, and I'm looking at it, going, God, he did see me skinny, and you look amazing.
I know. That was outside the Riviera. I was there doing some, one of those video news releases for somebody, I forget, and I was in there with Pat Morita. Remember him, Mr. Miyagi?
Of course, yeah.
And what a great guy he was. He passed away as well.
I know.
But, we're getting old.
I know it. That's why I'm living every moment. So if I want to do this show, if I want to do whatever, I'm great to have a supportive husband. My HSN, my lingerie company is doing really well, knock wood, and just living. I think I'm enjoying it more now. I think with age, you start to really look back and enjoy and appreciate.
I'm having me too. I'm having the best time now than ever.
Stay single.
Oh, you don't have to tell me.
George,
I I have twin boys. I have twin 19-year-old boys. They're at
Wow.
University of Massachusetts. So talk about
I knew
paying for
that.
college. Yeah. And I tell them, and my ex-wife hates it. I always say, don't get married. Whatever you do,
Stop
don't
it.
get married. And she gets so mad. I have to share the wealth. I mean.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you did get married. I'm glad you had that experience. I'm glad you have the boys because you have them forever. And George, I'm a little worried about you because I did see a cat in the background, and I don't want you to be considered.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. There's actually more than one, and it's my kids. When they were kids, kind of adopted all these cats, and I was never a cat guy. But I guess and now that they're on their own, Dad's stuck with 6 cats in the house here.
Well, wait, let me show you my puppy cam.
Oh, I love your dogs.
We have the puppy cam. Wait, can we? Well, there's 3 of them. I mean, I know that they're all Chihuahuas and they are all ankle biters.
I know. They look like they're in little donuts.
I know they are. That's exactly what they're in. But anyway, they're my little heartbeats. And
I know. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. The older you get, the more you appreciate pets and animals because they're loyal. Yeah, they give love. They're so much better than people. They really are. I've learned that. I never thought that. It's the truth.
No, you're so 100% right. What a fun! I've had such a fun show tonight. I had you. I had Dave Schwensen, a dear friend, Terry Groves. I mean, this is a very, very special show. I'm going to wrap it up because I know I'm over time. We have to just stay in touch. Maybe you'll come back.
Please. Yeah, you know how to reach me. And if I ever get down to Florida, I'll look you guys up. And
please. I'm stay in touch with you. I always follow you. And I thank you for the fun, the insight, for you, doing the fun things that we did together. And you're super freaking talented. You got 13 Emmys. I just want to have a little Emmy earring, not even a real one. George Chicarone, I thank you so much. I love you. And cheers.
Thank you.
You have a
Take
great
care.
night.
It's my hard
And
copy.
Stay cheap. Love you. Stay safe. That's what I meant. George Chicarone, ladies and gentlemen. No, I meant stay cheap. I love him. He's like a brother. I mean, tonight's been a great show. Before we go, we have something very special for you. And even George told you that I taught him the great wisdom of life about feet and cleavage. I'm so proud of myself, and my parents would be so proud of that college degree I had. Let's take a look at the foot of the week. This is for George. Happy social hour.
Stuck at home and you don't know what to do. Hold on, baby, Rhonda Shear's got you. Grab your computer, log on, baby, you got the power. It's the Rhonda Shear Social